Let's talk about the Kings because they have won 40 games this year so far, which is a record. And I think we should give them a round of applause here because this has been one of the worst franchises in professional sports, and I'm not even joking. Mike Brown becomes the second Sacramento Kings head coach to reach 40 wins. Are the Kings a threat to make the finals? And Zay, if you want to do the honors and kick us off, by all means.
I think the Kings are threats to make the NBA Finals in the Western Conference. I think the Western Conference, like I told Lil in an earlier show, even the clip that we just saw at halftime, the Western Conference has shown a lot of flaws throughout every team. Every team from 1 through 10 that's in that from the playoff to the play-in. Every team has a lot of issues with defense. They're not defensively sound, and I think it makes it a very difficult for teams to defend the Kings that push the tempo, that move up and down the court at a rapid pace where they can't defend De'Aaron Fox on a fast break. They can't seek out Kevin Huerter or Malik Monk out there in the 3-point line. They can't defend Sabonis, who's often much is a mismatch for many teams. Let alone just one. His mobility at the center position, his ability to get to the paint, his strength to muscle guys out to get to the cup to score a basket or to get to the free throw line. Also his ability to hit mid-range shots is difficult for any team to handle in that Western Conference. And I think there are a threat because when you look at every team in the Western Conference and what they do well, I think the Kings are right up there with the best of them regarding fast break points, second chance opportunities, shooting the three ball, getting open opportunities on a night in night out basis. The Kings are right up there with everybody, and I think they're a team to look out for because you don't want to be the Nuggets playing against the Kings when the Nuggets can't run with them. They can't run with Sacramento Kings team because Jokic gets winded very fast. He gets gassed. We saw him when he played against the Warriors. He was completely distraught. The best case scenario for a team to take the Kings out is the Warriors if they get their act together. If the Warriors somehow snap it all together in that playoff series, Wiggins is back, they're playing at a high caliber, and they played them in the Western Conference Finals. That would be the only team that could take the Kings out of this situation. But right now, I see the Kings as the threat to make the NBA Finals just based upon their play, based upon how they're decimating teams on that fast break on a night in, night out basis. And it's beyond just having that individual half-court talent because teams can't stop them from running a fast break. Teams can't stop them from going out. So that's something that is killing the Western Conference on a night in and night out basis. And I just don't see any team able to run with them in a 7-game series against the Sacramento Kings. I think right now they're threats to make the finals. If not, I'll call them the team to beat to make it to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, that's a hot take. That's a very hot take. No, I'm not gonna say they are a threat to make the Western or make the finals, right? I think for me, before I get to my answer, I want to start off with Mike Brown. Before I even get to the politics of everything, I want to start off with Mike Brown because he deserves a round of applause. I remember when he took that job, I said, you know what? He's going to end up right back on Golden State as an assistant, okay, to Steve Kerr, right back there. And I was wrong. When they traded Tyrese Halliburton, I was like, yo, what is this franchise doing? Okay, like they are trying to sabotage the franchise that's already sabotaged. And I was wrong again. And they went on this run. They're the number 2 seed right now. And when you look at the Nuggets and how they're sliding, they could potentially fight for that number 1 seed. I think when you look at Mike Brown, what he has done, the X's and O's, the coaching adjustments, the relationship that he's formed with De'Aaron Fox, I think is very commendable because when you have a star player and a head coach, we all know that camaraderie needs to be there. Okay, that bond, that relationship got to be there. And Fox has endorsed Mike Brown for changing and transforming the franchise. Right? You look at Atlanta, we saw how that ended with my guy with Trae Young and what's the guy I'm looking, I forgot his name. Trae Young, the former head coach of the Atlanta Hawks.
Oh, Nate McMillan.
Nate McMillan. We saw how that affected him not having a great relationship with his star players. So the fact that Mike Brown immediately is having a relationship with the players, the star players of this team is good. And I think when you have that 2-man show and you surround them with shooters, right? Sabonis, Indiana, and Fox with guys that can shoot the basketball, Kevin Huerter, Malik Monk, and all those guys over there, it just gets them to have this fast-paced offense where they're flying up, the rebounding of Sabonis is generating second chance looks. And he's like a mini version of Jokic. He puts up a consistent stat line, a double-double machine on a consistent basis. I believe he has about 53 double-doubles on the year. De'Aaron Fox has elevated his game this year, right? And fourth quarter is one of the best plays in the fourth quarter. Obviously, I believe they're scoring the most points per game. Their offensive rating is through the roof. Their defense obviously is an issue. I believe they're 26 in defensive rating. So the offense is really carrying the team. I agree with Zay in the sense that the Western Conference, there's not a lot of teams playing defense right now. But for me, I would say they're not contenders. But I do believe they're going to be this year's NBA Cinderella team. And I think their ceiling is Western Conference Finals. I'm not going to go all in and lose my head on the show and say a team like the Kings, who haven't been to the playoffs in over 2 decades, I'm not going to say that they're going to be finals contenders overnight. But I will give them the ceiling of making the Western Conference Finals and being this year's Atlanta Hawks that go on a run, being this year's Dallas Mavericks that go on a run, but fall short. Okay, and they're playing well. I'll give them that. And one more point before I pass the mic to Dino. I would say this in favor of Zay's response. The Western Conference, there's a lot of unknown. And it goes beyond, who's playing defense or not. When you look at the Suns, for example, Kevin Durant is not going to probably play another regular season game, right? I'm not sure how that timetable is. But is he going to be able to just come right back in and develop that chemistry with Devin Booker in time while they are trying to compete and win games in the playoffs? I don't know. I think you have to take the regular season seriously and have experiences in the regular season to build the camaraderie in the playoffs. That's just me from previous examples. When you look at a team like the Nuggets and Jokic, we all know we can question his stamina issues, especially deep in the playoffs. Is he going to run out of gas? Right? Can he be the number one player on this team? Does Jamal Murray got to pick up the slack, right, with the scoring? It's going to be questions over there. When you look at the Clippers, yeah, the Clippers got depth and they got playmakers, but Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, is that a situation set up for success, right? With Russell Westbrook? Who knows? I don't think it's pinpoint. Yo, they can make it. The Warriors, look at their road record. Look at how they've been playing defense on the road, right? Or they're going to flip the switch and show that championship heart. The Grizzlies with Ja Morant. When is Ja Morant playing basketball again? I don't know. And then you lose Brandon Clark and Steven Adams. Best things about this team being able to rebound and crash the glass, right? What's going to happen with them? So the Mavericks with Luka and Kyrie Irving, they haven't got off to a good start as far as wins. Okay, how they're going to pan out? So it's so wide open that I will not be shocked if the Kings are in the Western Conference Finals. Would I be shocked if they make the finals? Yeah. And that's why I'm going to answer the question like that. I think, no, they're not a threat to make the finals. They're my pick to go on this year's NBA Cinderella run.
That is a very valid claim, Leo. The fact that they could be the next team to go on a run. However, with the Kings, even though they're looking very good, and the Halliburton Sabonis trade, which a lot of people questioned in the beginning, turned out to be pretty good for both parties involved. But I could also see the Kings getting bounced in the first round of the playoffs. I feel like the Western Conference this season really matters a lot about matchups. Like, if the Kings get a team out of the play-in, that play-in team could be like the Mavericks. It could be the Warriors. It could be the Clippers if they drop. I don't know. And it's like, what if they get one of those teams? It's like, oh man, like that could easily be like a 6-7 game series in the first round for them. Like, that's a tough test. And then the second round, they probably would get Memphis, which I think they could beat Memphis. I think Memphis is very beatable. But yeah, like the Kings, they could get bounced in the first round, or they can make a Western Conference final run. It really depends a lot on the matchups and the seeding, in my opinion. But the Kings have been very impressive this year, and to see them all the way in the top 3 of the Western Conference, even if it is a down year for the conference, is impressive, especially for a guy like Mike Brown, who his last head coaching job was what? With the Cavaliers, with LeBron way back in the day. So it's been a long time for him. And, he's doing a good job with the squad, and they're playing really well. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do in the playoffs. But I wouldn't be surprised if they got bounced, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they made it to the Western Conference Finals. I would say that is also their ceiling. I think they need maybe a couple more years to really be a finals contender, but they definitely are a Western Conference Finals contender, and they could make a deep run in this year's playoffs.
You know, I just think when we look at what Mike Brown has accomplished this season, what he's able to do and unlock a component we didn't know De'Aaron Fox had. You know, we saw him; he was able to score in high magnitude on a team that was losing. The fact that he's able to do the same thing he was capable of doing at a better volume, better efficiency on a winning basketball team is something that everyone wants to see De'Aaron Fox do in his career. And the fact that Mike Brown was able to unlock that, the fact that the Kings made a risky move by trading Halliburton for Sabonis, that was something that was unprecedented, and we're seeing a better version of this Kings team. So kudos to the Kings. They have the sky's the limit for them because the Western Conference is open. It's wide open. There's no bona fide team more. There's no team that's over the other. Everybody right now is on an even playing field. Anybody can lose at any given time. And I think the Kings have an opportunity to really take a couple teams out before, if like I said, if they make the first round after the first round of playoffs, they make the first round. Not even forget losing. They make the first round of playoffs. That's already an accomplishment. Now, if they win the series, a couple series, their confidence just keeps growing and growing and growing. Mike Brown didn't anticipate a playoff run in this magnitude. He definitely preached a lot of things for the team, the young guys, to really become the vocal points of this team, to be the leaders, the score, to be up and down the court, fast paced 100%. But the fact that he got this team playing at the way they are playing, the sky is the limit. I know they're extremely motivated. This is very reminiscent to Monty Williams during the bubble when he had that speech about the Suns saying he's proud of them. The next season they went to the finals. This is that kind of momentum that Mike Brown has on his Kings team, that impact he has on his team. They could really go be above and beyond, and that's why I believe they are threats to make that finals because it goes beyond just the talent there. The leadership of Mike Brown has propelled these guys well above any ceiling that was capped for them. They're playing at an astronomical level. Kudos to them, and that's why I believe they're the team to me that can make that finals run because right now everything is on all cylinders from playing to coaching is flourishing.
Now, I
I would
agree. I agree
go
with
ahead, man.
Zay on that one that the West is just wide open. But now here's the thing: this season, if the Kings don't make it far and they do get bounced in like the first round, depending on how the offseason goes, things change overnight in the NBA. Do you think that they could keep it up next year if the Western Conference gets even stronger? That would be my question for the Kings. Is if they don't go deep this year, will they be able to go deep next year or the year after?
I mean, look, I think this Western Conference is wide open. So I think if there's a year where we see the Kings potentially accomplish what Zay is predicting them to do this year, then it will be this year, more so than any other year. But I do have a response and I do have a question, two questions actually, for both of y'all. So I do think on the defensive end, they just give up a ton of shots and they could get extradited in the paint as well on the defensive end. So, defense is suspect to me when it comes to them. They could put up points with everybody, but you are banking on them outscoring teams, and that's always dangerous in the wild, wild west, right? I think for me, Zay, you talked about Mike Brown and his leadership and what he has done with this franchise, and I agree 1,000%. But I do have a very, very good question, controversial question. Do you think that Mike Brown and his success and potentially further success with this team puts a label about LeBron James where we know that there's a lot of people that say two things about LeBron James and coaching? A, he's a coach killer, or B, he never played with a good coach. Like he's never coached by a good coach. What does Mike Brown's recent success, how does that impact your view on LeBron James and the coaches that he had? Because Mike Brown obviously coached LeBron James in Cleveland.
Oh, it's the narrative that LeBron never played for a good coach is just blasphemy. He's like, look, now Mike Brown's doing good with the Kings. Frank Vogel with the Pacers was giving him runs for his money in the Eastern Conference. Really, they were the only team that really made a threat to the Heat those years after, the Celtics got disbanded. And then you look at Eric Spoelstra. How is
Best
Eric
coach
Spoelstra a
in the
bad
East.
coach? Eric Spoelstra been in the finals with Jimmy Butler, with Tyler Hero, that young team in 2020. And he's been there in the playoffs countless times, constantly been a threat in the East. This whole thing that LeBron's never played for a good coach is just straight up blasphemy. Yeah, he's never had, a someone like a Jerry
Greg
Sloan
Popovich,
or a
but
Greg
who
or
gets
a
Greg Popovich, right? Once in a
yeah, or
billion.
like a Phil Jackson. He never had that, of course, but there's only this many of them. There's not that many in certain eras. So you look at it like, no, LeBron's had good coaches, and it's just like this whole narrative of him not playing for a good coach is straight up blasphemy because he's had plenty.
Well, I think when you talk about Mike Brown early in his career, Mike Brown had that Cavaliers team. They were home court advantage every year. That was a team that was dynamic to say the least. Once LeBron left, a lot of the talent left as well. They had a lot of young guys. It's very difficult to coach anybody in that kind of structure. And it's he was kind of given the short end of the stick there. He kind of got a lot of the blame for it as well, which is unfortunate. Him being an assistant coach on the Warriors, he learned a lot with Kerr and a lot of those coaches out there. Steve Kerr had like a stacked coaching staff with a lot of former head coaches, a lot of knowledge from everybody. So maybe Mike Brown took those years away from head coaching to learn from like a lot of different guys so he could build up a solid structure to when the next time he had coaches, he has enough knowledge to talk to players, knowing how to get them in the right spots, to get them to play with high intensity. And maybe he needed that time because he went into a coaching position, a place where you're coaching the number one player on a team, the LeBron James, an anomaly where, to say the least, where you don't really know how to coach this guy. This guy's like, he's going off on himself. You just got to make sure you get the other guys coached up. And maybe he needed to learn to be an assistant coach, to talk to the role players of the team, to talk to the guys who are going to be doing all the dirty work to get to this point. Now, to say LeBron James never got coached by a good head coach is a lie. I think Eric Spoelstra, in my opinion, is the best head coach he ever got coached by.
Yeah, and
as a young head coach at that. And I think Eric Spoelstra, he's one of those coaches in general. He's already in my Hall of Fame per se, just based upon what is his capabilities, his X's and O's, the way he's able to adjust, and like the way he plans for games is just unlike anybody else I've seen in my lifetime. So I think for me, he's a Hall of Fame head coach. So, but I think the narrative that LeBron James never had a great head coach, not forget good, a great head coach is ridiculous to say the least.
Yeah, and I felt the need to address that and put that in there because we look at Mike Brown's success on the Kings right now, and I think he didn't get a lot of credit for those runs in Cleveland. It was all LeBron James based, and that's the reason why I brought up the question, because there's a lot of people that say A, he's out of the coach killer, or B, he never played with a good head coach, which I think is an absolute lie. Maybe not a Greg Popovich, but there's only one Greg Popovich. Maybe not a Phil Jackson, but there's only one Phil Jackson. So yeah, I think we answered that. I do got one more question before we officially leave this topic. Right now, you look at the Western Conference. The Kings are the number 2 seeded team right now. And if the playoffs were to start today, they will be playing. Well, I believe you had the playing game. Obviously, you got to take that in consideration. But who do you think they will ultimately play if they stick at that number 2 seed? First of all, do you think they're going to stick at that number 2 seed? And if so, who do you think their first round matchup is going to be? And do you think they win that first round matchup?
Well, the 2 seed I feel like they're like right neck and neck with Memphis, right? Like it's only like a couple games.
I believe they tied right now.
Yeah,
I got the tiebreaker, I believe.
I guess it kind of depends on how Memphis does without Ja, because he's got his issues and everything, and we'll see if that gets sorted out. So if Ja stays out for a little while, I think they could hold the 2 seed, and then they would probably get a Dallas in the play-in. So I mean, that would be a run for their money in the first round. See, that's a tough matchup. If they drop to the 3, who do they get? Golden State? That's tough. I mean, I don't see those 2 matchups right there. I mean, the series could go either way. It really can. It's like a coin flip. It's like you want Dallas or Sacramento? You flip that coin. Okay, cool. I mean, Dallas hasn't been that great since Kyrie came. Tried to warn everybody, but I mean, they still could make a run for their money in the first round. That easily could be a 7-game series in the first round. So I guess it kind of depends on the matchup that they get, but either way, whether it's Golden State or Dallas, I think that's a tough series for them. I really do.
Listen, I think whoever goes against the Kings in that play-in is going to have a difficult time. We go down a list. Minnesota Timberwolves can't run with the Kings. The Dallas Mavericks can't run with the Kings. Jazz and Lakers, they can't run with the Kings. And I think even if you look at the Thunder and Pelicans, because right now there's a 4-way tie between 9th and 10th seed between Jazz, Lakers, Thunder, and the Pelicans. I just think none of those teams can run with them. The Kings are a team, like I said, it's an anomaly because when you look at the entire Western Conference, the Sacramento Kings have to be first in the Western Conference in fast break points. They got to be first or close to first in 3-point attempts on that in the Western Conference because they shoot threes at a high clip. I mean, they get open. These guys are wide open when they're on the basketball court. And it's not like I said, it's not from a talent perspective because you could look at the Mavericks. You could say Luka and Kyrie way more talented. You could look at the Lakers, LeBron and Anthony Davis, D'Lo. They have more talent. The Jazz, they all around, they have talent. I don't think they're better than Kings personally. I don't think they got more talent. The Timberwolves, they got Anthony Edwards. If Karl Anthony Towns plays, I don't know if he's going to be back this season. If he comes back to play, Rudy Gobert, they got talent over there. But I just look at the Kings, even though they're young, they're running up and down the court. Mike Brown is playing a West Coast offense in basketball. He's running up and down the court with ease. And these guys are not tired at the end of the games. With the fact that De'Aaron Fox is number one in clutch points, is
that's
ridiculous.
Mike Brown calling. I approve this message.
he's killing it. So I think, when you look at the Kings, they're a serious team because you have to worry about in a 7-game series when you're playing against them. I got to run with these dudes for 7 games. I'm going to be gassed. And this De'Aaron Fox, this is a Kings team that runs up and down for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. This is with the team. This is the Coach Carter team. This is exactly what it is. The Coach Carter team is we're seeing it right now with the Sacramento Kings, a team that nobody expected to be as high as they are in the Western Conference, a team that was overlooked for years, a team that's been 20 years of drought. They're right now. They're in the NBA right now cooking it. I can't wait for Coach Carter 2 to come out because this is going to be Mike Brown. Mike Brown and Sacramento Kings. They are killing it. And I see last thing, right? De'Aaron Fox, I believe he should be the most improved player of the year. That's my personal opinion. I think, he's shown enough to get that award, but also he has propelled and elevated this team's play by his ability to make big shots in the fourth quarter and really take teams out of their misery when it comes to winning in the clutch, winning in like 5 points or below within 5 minutes. De'Aaron Fox has shown his ability night in and night out to control the narrative that the Kings are a fluke. He is killing it, and the Kings, I believe, are one of the scariest teams to play in that Western Conference because you don't want to be gassed in that first round playing against the Sacramento Kings and then have to worry about whoever else in that next round.
Nah, they're going to gas you up. And the Warriors, I would say the Warriors are an older team. Don't get it twisted. Yes, they have that championship pedigree, but you think these guys want to be chasing these clowns? I mean, they're older now, so they're gonna make you work. And we all know the Warriors road woes, on the road. Obviously they can turn it on. We saw them turn it on against the Grizzlies, who reminded me of this team from last year where they had a high seed and they gave it to the Warriors, and the Warriors had to take them to a hard 6, and they could have lost that series. It was going back and forth, and Ja got hurt. I think the Kings could test them and potentially beat them, but then again, it's the Warriors. At the end of the day, that championship muscle, they can flex it. And maybe they do play better defense in the playoffs and start to lock in. Who knows? So it's going to be a tough out.
Please like and subscribe for all the up-to-date content. You've been slinging shows left and right, slinging content left and right. Please don't miss anything. If you do, like, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a question, something you may want to answer, something you may have. All ideas are great ideas. Nothing's a dumb question.